What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. Friday. Happy Friday, Scott. Do you like when people wish you a happy Friday?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's fine. It's expected at this point, so I say it back because it's really for the people that are just miserable during the week and they're like, thank God
Thank God it's
this
Friday.
is ending for a few days and then I have to restart it again. But so there's a little bit of like sympathy or empathy, I think, when I hear that, because I feel like they're coming from a place where they're like, I need it, or they're just saying it because they're conditioned to say it and they feel like they have to. I think teachers say it a lot. So that's also why I believe I'm used to it, because I think I hear it from Bevan, like every call. I just hear it with like, hey, happy Friday. It's like, oh my God.
Is she still wishing people Happy New Year on her calls?
Probably. Yeah. Well, it is a happy new year for them because it's a new school year, right? So it's a different type of happy new year.
Yeah.
But it is a happy Friday. You know why? Yankees are 1.5 games up in the division.
Yeah.
So,
thanks, Mets.
It's a lot of separation. We haven't seen this much separation in quite some time. So, and it came with the help of the Mets, and we beat a good team, 2 out of 3, which is a good thing.
Took 2 out of 3 from the Guardians after the way they lost the game. The first game that was on Tuesday. The first game they lost in extra innings on Tuesday, which was such a brutal loss. Just they scored with just the home runs, and then just, we're going to talk about this, but so many wasted opportunities, and then that just meltdown in extra innings. It was such a brutal loss. So to come back and take 2 out of 3 against Cleveland, who is a good team, legitimately a good team in first place, that's a great series win. It stepped up with the starting pitching. I mean, Soto and Judge have just continued to carry this lineup. I mean, specifically Judge. But yeah, that's a good win. It is an AL Central team, though, so that always comes with a
I knew you were going to say that.
Right now, here's the thing.
Hold on. Right now, if the season ended today, 2 of the 3 wildcard teams would be coming from the AL Central,
which is great if you're a Yankees fan.
Well, I'm just telling you, when you look around the league, and I mentioned this last episode about how up and down the entire league has been. There's not really a team that's been just really consistent throughout you could go to the National League and say the same thing, but there just hasn't been a team that's been like far and away the best team. There's been a lot of teams going back and forth, having struggles, and that's when you're seeing you see the Twins still hanging out. Obviously the Guardians are in first, and then the Royals, who are there. I think a lot of people expected them to be, somewhere in the mix, just because they did do some things in the offseason and have a bunch of young talent. But yeah, they're not bad teams. They're across the landscape of the American League. You could say they're good teams.
Neil always likes, our buddy Neil Keefe always likes to point out that the Yankees have not won a playoff series against a non-AL Central team since 2012.
Since 2012?
Yeah.
Never.
It's a long time. No, since. Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, well, that's
the playoff series. The playoff series they've won have come against Cleveland, against Minnesota, against, I think, just Cleveland and Minnesota.
I was going to say those are the only 2 teams
in the wild card series the last few years, and then in the DS series. And then, they did, if you count the wild card game, single game, when they beat Oakland as a series win, then fine, loophole.
Technically that counts.
The
big 1-game series.
Let's talk about some positives since they won the series. I think I like this. If they lose the series, we talk about negatives first. If they win the series, we talk about positives first. Have to start with Aaron Judge, who's an animal. He's on another planet. 2 for 5 on Tuesday, 2 for 3 on Wednesday, hitting home runs in every single game. Through 127, so Jeff Passan put out a tweet. Through 127 games in 2022, he was slashing .295, .396, 661 with 49 homers and 109 RBIs. Okay? That was the year he hit 62 home runs. Through 127 games this year, .334 batting average, so significantly higher batting average, .465 on base percentage, which is also significantly higher. .465 on base percentage is 40. You're nearly getting on half the time. Like, you're
insane.
46, round up to half, I guess. And the kicker here is a 722 slugging percentage, which is better than the rest of the league's OPS. Okay. Aaron Judge has a higher slugging percentage than the average OPS in the league. And that you might just like that might not be actually sinking in. That might just be washing over you. Like, okay, yeah, like he's good. No. That is taking the rest of the league's on base percentage and slugging percentage and combining them together. And Judge is beating it with just his slugging percentage, not to mention his 465 on base percentage. It's crazy. He's got 47 home runs, so 2 short of his pace in 22, 117 RBIs, so a bit more RBIs. He could very well hit 63 home runs to beat his 62 home runs, but whether he finishes the year at 58 home runs, 59, 61, whatever, it's a very real case. This is a better season than he had in 2022. And he sucked in April.
I mean, basically April was a nothing burger compared to anything. I mean, if he had April in
average April, average.
Yeah, the numbers
he'd be blowing the numbers out of the water. He might be at 53 home runs right now.
Look, I've said this in the past, but I really do think we need to say it as much as humanly possible. Everybody needs to take a step back and understand what the hell we're watching with this guy. Like we're seeing, when you look at the history of baseball and you look at the history of the New York Yankees, you go back and you look at those the year stat lines from like Gehrig and Ruth and even like Mantle, but like Gehrig and Ruth used to put up just like unbelievably stupid numbers when you look at their lines. That's what Judge is doing right now. Judge is stuffing every single category with like Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig type numbers. And it's probably arguably, but you'd have to have a very convincing argument for the other side of it. This is the hardest time it's ever been in the history of baseball to play baseball and to hit a baseball, I would say, because of the specialization of pitchers, the technology, all of the above. And you could say technology on the other side is helping as well. Sure. It's still a wood bat. I know wood bats have gotten better, but still a tree, still the same material at the end of the day. But yes, they are, what he's doing right now is unbelievable. And I'm super thankful. I was talking to a guy that I just met who is a neighbor of my in-laws, and he turns out a big Red Sox fan. So we started shooting the shit a little bit. And I was like, I'm really happy that my son Kemp is able to when he's starting to learn baseball and watch baseball for the first time, he's got, and I hope the Yankees organization, I swear to God, if you screw this up, if you fumble this in the offseason, he's got the ability to watch Aaron Judge and Juan Soto to play back-to-back on every single day. And as a young kid, he gets to see it for the first couple innings. And right. the way that they're playing in the first couple innings, might as well be watching, another all-star for an entire game because of the amount of home runs and just production that's happening early in the game from these guys. It's truly special to watch because he's the on-base percentage and the batting average speak to the lack of stretching the zone, just like the way that he can control the strike zone and how he does not go outside it at all. He dictates that entire at bat. He dictates the entire at bat, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch, and he doesn't deviate.
Logan.
So how about I give you his numbers? Have you guys seen his numbers for the last 99 games since that Milwaukee series in August at the end of April?
I do think it's funny how we're like the last 98 games he's been the most.
Well,
and now 99.
I just picked 99.
I saw the stats from last night, but yeah,
379 average, 379,
yeah,
507 on base percentage, over half the time, like we were just talking about. 833 slugging, not OPS. 1.340 OPS. 44 home runs, 105 RBIs.
This is a guy who came up in 2000.
That's a full season.
Oh, 100%.
No, I mean that's guys
more than a full
put that
season.
Up. Yeah, guys never put up those numbers. I mean, those sorts of numbers, the on base percentage, are reminiscent of well, not quite Barry Bonds in the early 2000s because he was walking 200 times those seasons. But that's the type of thing that you're seeing where like Barry Bonds in 2002, for example, had a 370 batting average and a 582 on base percentage and a 799 slugging percentage. Like what you just read off that's the same thing Aaron Judge is doing. And here's one thing I don't appreciate from Jeff Passan's tweet. He said he ended the tweet with the last player not linked to steroids to slug this high in a full season is Ted Williams in 1957. Well, Jeff, just by mentioning that, you're kind of bringing up the steroid thing. Just didn't appreciate that.
Well, I don't think that's he's just basically saying like, don't look at Barry Bonds, don't look at McGwire, don't look at the power numbers. But like don't forget, this is coming from a guy who started his baseball career, his Yankees career in 2016 with basically striking out at a 50% clip. And now he's getting on base at a 50% clip. I mean, the transformation from when he came up and the swing transformation and the approach is truly remarkable. People throw around the term generational talent all the time, and it's usually at the very beginning of someone's career. He's a generational talent, and then we see how no, this is a generational talent. Like, this truly is a generational talent. It's you could put Juan Soto in that. Like, the generational talent term is for the upper echelon, the best of the best, who have shown it for a decently long sample size and continue to get better. That's the thing, man. He's better. Like, this is a better season. It's a better season.
You could look at the seasons, like you mentioned, from Gehrig and Ruth in the 20s and 30s, and like, fine, that's totally valid to look at that. But a lot of people don't consider that really the modern age of baseball. First of all, like, the league didn't have black players in it.
Right.
Like, that's a big thing, right? So if you want to look at something a little bit more modern, you go to Mickey Mantle in 1956, which was everyone considers his best season. It's his Triple Crown season. He hit 353 with a 464 on base percentage and a 705 slugging percentage. Like, those numbers are pretty much what we've seen from Aaron Judge, barring a few percentage points here or there. But when it's that well-rounded, hitting in the mid 300s, getting on base in the high 40%, and slugging around 700, like, to be that well-rounded of a hitter is really, really rare.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point about, I never thought Aaron Judge would ever sniff a 300, never mind a 330 batting average. Like, that's not a knock on him, but just with the way baseball is, with the amount he struck out early in his career, and with just, like, him being a home run hitter, this is the nature of, like, he's not going to get as many singles and doubles and things like that. I thought if he could hit 270, that's like a really high batting average for him. But he has proven me wrong and proven otherwise, with the fact that, like you said, he's dictating the at-bats, he's making the pitchers come to him, and then the one or two pitches he sees, he's punishing. It's crazy. It
is crazy. And it's fun to watch. So yeah, take a step back and realize it's like, this is not normal. This is not normal. This is unbelievable. And I refer to the numbers for Gehrig and Ruth is because you're right. Baseball, totally different. Like, the competition wasn't there. You could list off a number of things, but just the sheer optics of those stat lines have always been like crazy, just because the numbers are so high. And that's what he's doing in today's game, which is weird. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. He's stealing some bases too. It's not like that's a zero in that category. He's got speed. The man is 6'7" and runs like he's 6'1", 6'2". He's got the athletic prowess of someone who is much smaller and more nimble and athletic, yet in a 6'7", 6'8" frame, which is insane. And that was the other reason, like, why I didn't believe that he'd be able to, duplicate the swing as much, and the muscle memory, and just like getting back to the sheer repetitiveness of these mechanics, because he is so big. It's harder to do, and he said F you to all the people thinking that he cannot do it, and has.
No one's been saying that in the last 5 years.
No one's saying it recently, but earlier in his career, I'm sure there were people that sized him up and identified him as this, and he's like, you know what? That's
Richie Sexton.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, Logan.
Early comparisons to Dave Winfield, which is
okay. Well, Dave Winfield's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
like, that's not a knock.
No, and Dave Winfield hit for average as well. But like, you look at the numbers compared to what Judge is doing right now, and it's better. It's crazy.
Just like to kind of continue with like the numbers that back that up. So he's at a 224 WRC plus. So that's 124% better than league average.
More than double better than league average.
That's only been done in 5 seasons over the course of a whole season. I understand seasons on over. Barry Bonds did it 3 times, 01, 02, and 04, and Babe Ruth did it twice in 1920 and 1923. That's it.
Well, Babe Ruth didn't even do that in 1927 when he hit 60 home runs. He out-homered teams. Like, what are you talking about?
Not a 224. And then Ted Williams had a 223 in 1957.
Was that when he hit 400?
I believe so.
The only number from like the old days with Gehrig and stuff that I always still find crazy impressive is in 1927, Lou Gehrig had 173 RBIs. And the reason that's so impressive is because he hit in back of Babe Ruth, who hit 60 home runs that year. So he came to bat 60 times with the bases empty, and he still had 173 RBIs in 150 games or whatever was being played. Like, that to me is still pretty freaking nuts.
It speaks to how dangerous that entire lineup was.
Oh yeah.
The guys on base, I don't even know what the numbers are, but you look at the on base percentage for that entire 1 through 9, it's probably stupid.
So Judge continues, and how old's Kemp? Did he just turn 7 or just turn 8?
He just turned 7.
Just turned 7. So he's entering the years in which when I started really following baseball and watching baseball. Now the big difference between, if you want to compare Judge to Jeter as the face of the team, Jeter was a rookie in 1996, which is when I was 8 years old and just starting. So he's coming into Judge's end of his prime, unfortunately. And that's another thing with Judge. He started late.
Yeah.
When you talk about generational talents, Juan Soto, like we got a mailbag question about Juan Soto in a bit. He started when he was 19 years old.
Yeah.
Barry Bonds, I don't know when he came up. 18, 19 years old. Mickey Mantle, 18, 19 years old. Like Bryce Harper, like these generational quote unquote talents are so above and beyond. They're teenagers and they're in the major leagues. That wasn't Judge. Completely different.
Which you could argue is even more impressive because it took a lot of work for him to get to this
bittersweet. Point. It's also a little bittersweet because it's a shorter period.
For sure. But the amount of work that he put in to get to this point, like he didn't yes, he was given the genetics.
Let's not say he was given with some talents.
He was given the genetics. He was given like the unbelievable, body that he has in there.
Like all-American athlete.
100%. But it didn't come easy, is my point. From when he was
baseball did not come easy.
Every single, and maybe it did early on, but what he did is, if you look back, and I remember this clear as day, every single time he got a promotion in the minor leagues, going all the way up through the call up to the Yankees, he struggled in the beginning, had to make adjustments to each league, and to his credit, made those adjustments in spades and moved up. But every single time you could see there was a struggle. Whereas, some of these guys that you're talking about, one, don't play that long in the minor leagues first. They don't go to college, and they're essentially raised, from a 18, 19-year-old in a major league dugout clubhouse. Whereas Judge took a very different path, and had to work his ass off to get here. Now, granted, yes, he's given the ability, the God-given ability of all of the things that he has and attributes that he have, but it's a true testament to how hard he's worked, because this is not coming without all of that hard work. Like if he doesn't put in that time, and he's not remotely getting close to where he is. I mean, he'd still be Chris Carter swinging with his eyes closed, striking out at 50%.
If he didn't reinvent himself after the 2016 season, he'd probably be out of baseball at this point, because he was striking out in 2016 half the time. And you'd have to imagine over those next few years, the league even went to more strikeout heavy and more all or nothing type. He would have been unplayable with how many strikeouts he would have had.
Well, that's
if he didn't reinvent himself.
Assuming he would have, struck out at that clip. Yeah. But you have to assume that you look at time in the major leagues making your adjustment, even if you had the same swing, like that would go down.
But he was in the majors, what I'm saying.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying like even if he didn't reinvent his swing.
Go look at 2016, the few at bats he had in 2016 before he got hurt. It doesn't even look like Aaron Judge. The stance is different, the stride is different, everything is different. He's got his pants down. It doesn't look like Aaron Judge, barring the fact that he's 6'7". That's the only thing that resembles Aaron Judge. 2017, then he looks like Aaron Judge. He's got basically the batting stance he has now, the kind of stride, everything, the approach at the plate. Yes, he was striking out a ton still in 2017, and that's developed over time. But it was in between those two seasons. He came into 2017 spring training fighting for a roster spot. He had a good spring. He hit 8th on opening day. Okay. I think it was like a few weeks into the season before Girardi finally moved him up in the order. And I forget if he hit him 3rd or 4th or 2nd. I forget where he ended up hitting that season, but he was 8th. Hopefully this guy can be okay to start the season.
Yeah. What's it? How many? What Logan? If you can look up, what's his strikeout percentage this year? Just curious. If you were to guess, Andrew, what do you think it is?
20?
He's still striking out.
Yeah,
but-
22%.
All right,
Was my guess, which is 15% better than it was in 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's my guess. What's your guess?
20. I was gonna say 23.
Okay.
23.9.
Damn. It's like I can predict the future.
The next positive is Nestor Cortes. Another good start. 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts on Wednesday versus Cleveland in a big spot after the bullpen had to be exhausted in the extra inning game. So this is twice in a row. Nestor's been a bit of a stopper because if you remember back to Tuesday of last week against the White Sox after, again, the bullpen melted down, he stepped up big.
Yeah, it's a good segue to the fact that Andy Pettit's in town. Speaking of stoppers, and maybe we saw him on the broadcast last night. They showed some footage of him working a little bit with Carlos Rodon.
Did this happen earlier in the year?
Stuff. I don't know, but anytime Andy Pettit's in town working with our lefties, I'm very appreciative and I love it. I want him here all the time, and I know he's here.
This happened
Old Timers Day, but
this happened early in the season with Rodon when he was on a little bit of a good stretch. They were like, "Oh, he was working with Andy Pettit." If Andy Pettit's the magic sauce here, like, why is he not traveling? Like, pay him more money and have him with the team always. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah. Why do we have to call him in every 4 months to fix the lefties?
Yeah, he needs to just stay there. He needs to stay there for at least for the rest of the season, please.
Get him a residency or something.
Yeah,
post him up.
No, but Nestor looked good. He looked confident. He talked about it after the game. There's actually a really good interview from after his start with the press. If you guys haven't checked it out, go back and look at it's 6 or 7 minutes of him just riffing. And answering a bunch of questions. It was entertaining for me. But he made a couple changes, really working off of his fastball and the command. He's able to dot his stuff. And when Nestor's able to command his fastball and then mix up the other stuff, he's he's extremely effective. So hopefully he's found some things that he can carry with him, for a longer period of time here, because, him coming in and throwing in the back of the rotation is important for this final stretch to win the division, because I do think they need to win the division. And second, like, whether he's a playoff starter at the end of it or not, who knows how this thing shakes out. Getting him at his best is something very good for the bullpen too, which again, like, I think the bullpen's going to look very different when the playoffs come around, and he could be part of it.
When Nestor was really good in 2022, he did a few things to there was a few reasons why we discussed him being so effective. He worked quickly and efficiently. He threw a ton of strikes and he mixed speeds. And that was so unlike the rest of the league, sort of power pitchers. I'm going to strike you out and that's all I'm going to do, which is why it was a nice change up and why Nestor was so effective. And so he's been more of that in his past two starts. And you see him struggle when he's not locating and he's out of the zone. And then when he has to come in the zone, unfortunately, stuff's just not good enough to get swings and misses.
It's funny. Something that we talked about, and I don't think we've mentioned this in a while, but I remember when the pitch clock was coming in, we were talking about this as a potential.
Was that
thing.
the 2022 season or the 2023 season? I'm forgetting.
It was 23
last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was what we were talking about. The conversation was like, okay, now that everybody is working faster, does that affect Nestor's results in a negative way because the batters are
more used to it?
Yeah, used to that rushing. Like they're set earlier. You're not really getting anybody off guard anymore. Like they're ready. They have to be ready. They're now accustomed to being ready. So it's interesting to think about because I'm sure it does have something to play. He's not as deceiving with his timing because he can't be really, because the pitch clock kind of regulated that as far as the people that were taking way too long. So
I still think there's always going to be a place in baseball though for location pitchers.
There's always a place. Yes, of course there is. There was a trend in baseball where those sorts of pitchers were weeded out. And unless you could throw 97 miles an hour with elite spin rate and elite
breaking stuff to get swings and misses, you were kind of disregarded as a pitcher, as a definitely a bullpen arm. Now in bullpen, I don't think contact. We've seen it. Contact ain't it in the bullpen. But in a starting pitcher, I think they'll always be a place. They're not going to be number one frontline starters. You've seen Nestor Cortes, you've seen Marcus Stroman. Like, there's a reason why they're back of the rotation guys, but there's still always going to be a place for them in a rotation to survive.
I think it's harder for those types of pitchers to come up through an organization in today's game because
they're not going to wow anyone. They're not going to fly through minor leagues.
Yeah, they don't pop the numbers as much, but
their scouting grades aren't going to be off the charts.
There's something to be said. That's because everybody's like, oh, I can fix them. But what we're seeing a lot of times is you cannot fix the inaccuracies a lot of the time. But when you do have the Luis Heels who come up and still walk people I think is he walking the most in the major leagues? I think he is. And still having effect.
He might have the most walks in the major leagues. I don't know if it's the highest walk rate, but
like that's a great example of someone who has unbelievably raw talent, unbelievably raw stuff with his pitching.
66 walks is the most in major leagues. He's walking nearly 5 per 9 innings.
That's God damn, that's too many.
But you saw Garrett Cole, who was the next positive, who was unhittable, like literally couldn't only give 1 hit, but he walked 5 in 6 innings.
Yeah. One of them you put a little asterisk next to because of that bullshit that the umpire pulled with the umpire. I know you had some meetings, so you didn't see every single second of this game, but the umpire, so there was an in-between innings. Austin Wells, I forget if he was last up or he was on base. So he was coming in, taking a little bit longer to get his gear on in between innings. So Trevino was out there warming up Garrett Cole. And when Austin Wells came out, he was hustling, getting his stuff on, came out and took a pitch. The umpire basically like flagged it off and said, if you throw one more pitch, I got to dock you, or, it's a violation and you get a ball. He threw the pitch. Austin Wells got, the work in throwing it down. And there was an argument between them. Boone came out, the whole deal. But there's like some loophole where if
too many warm-up pitches.
No, it's about the timing. So if Austin Wells had waited 6 seconds or 7 seconds, whatever that it was, because he was on base, there would have been a restart and they would have had the time that he needed. But because he came in before that clock restarted, because he was too fast getting back out there, they didn't restart it. So he couldn't get it was a loophole. And that's like, again, like, yes, by the letter of the law, it was a violation, but that is exactly where you need umpires to be human beings and smart and realize what is happening and what the intent of the rule is and understand that, okay, this guy came out 6 seconds early because he was just hustling to get out here to get the speed of the game going and like, just look the other freaking way and give them the extra time. No one's going to say shit to you. And then in the off season, you can say, hey, this happened. This is not the letter of the law, but it's something that we should be implementing because it's in accordance to what the rule is intended for, to speed the game up. Anyway, he got a ball and then he walked that guy on 3 pitches, actually.
3 pitches. Yeah, that is definitely bullshit. Yeah, it's not just Yankees organization and front office that needs common sense. Like, umpires need some common sense sometimes.
This is a department that could float, it could float. Fractional common sense department.
Well, so yeah, I unfortunately I was not able to watch most of the game. I caught up just in watching highlights, but it's tough to tell watching highlights why a guy is maybe struggling or doing something. So what did you see out of Cole, why he walked 5, even if one of them is asterisk?
I don't think it's anything crazy. I just think his command was a little off. That's all. I don't think it was anything bad. I mean, he went through 95 pitches, didn't look tired, I think he just had his command off. And when you see a guy that has his command off, first of all, he got his 150th win yesterday. But when you see his command off and he's still able to limit hits, that is one hit. Yeah. That's a very good thing because then you're not leaking your command issues over the plate for you to be hittable. You're walking guys, but at least you're limiting damage in that regard, and like if you're going to have a bad day, with your command and you're just walking guys, but not allowing them to get hits and not allowing your ball to leak over the middle of the plate so that it's a lot more hittable. I think that's, lesser of two evils, to be honest, because that could very well go the other way. And you see one hit, but he's all over the strike zone in a bad way. And he's just getting hit all over the damn place. And that will lead to more runs.
Well, he had a Luis Hill May start line, 6 innings, 1 hit, 5 walks. That's what Luis Hill did every start in May.
Yeah. Yeah. But unfortunately now Luis Hill has been leaking the ball over the plate as well and getting hit along with the walks.
And getting injured, which we're going to talk about. But first, we're brought to you today by Factor Meals. We're all busy, work, kids. We got to watch baseball games, whatever it is. It can be hard sometimes to find the time to go grocery shopping and cook a healthy meal for yourself. That's where Factor comes in to save the day. With Factor, you get no prep, no mess meals delivered right to you. You can also stick to your wellness goals because their meals are nutritious and dietitian approved. The Factor process is super easy. You go on their website and choose from over 35 delicious options each week. You can customize your deliveries with 60 different add-ons. Highly skilled chefs prepare the food and is delivered to you. Heating the meals takes just 2 minutes, and then the best part, there's no mess or anything to clean up afterwards. You just drop the tray in the trash and you are done. All of Factor's meals are fresh and never frozen, with options from breakfast to dessert and everything in between. I love my personal favorite, the chorizo chili, but I also want to give an honorable mention to the Parmesan chicken, which was also very delicious. We've got a great offer for you. Head to factormeals.com/Bronx50 and use code Bronx50 to get 50% off your first box and then 20% off your next month. That's an awesome deal. 50% off your first box and then 20% off your next month after that at factormeals.com/Bronx50. Well, let's start with Luis Hill as a negative, who left the game on Tuesday with back tightness. He was placed on the IL. He had 5 walks as well, and he was clearly not right, especially in the batter he was facing before he got pulled. You could see like his arm angle was even changing, and it was just like, okay, something's definitely wrong here.
Yeah, and that's at a point when you start seeing mechanics change, you got to get that guy out of there, because that's how injuries really, really happen or get much worse and can affect different parts of your body, because now you're, trying to compete with an injury and compensating in a different way. So, look, at the end of the day, we talked about this before we hit record. I'm like, this is some time off for him. This is, at some point what's going to happen in one form or in one way or another. And yes, this injury, they're saying that they're hopeful that he can continue to throw throughout the stint on the IL, which to me leads me down the path of like, it's not that serious. It's more of like, maybe there was a little bit of tightness. They didn't see anything. And it's just a good opportunity for him to take a breather and work on some things. So, that's encouraging, I guess, to see that. I think it's getting him some time off and being able to refresh his body for the stretch run, I think is a good thing. It does come at a weird time, just because there's, Clark Schmidt's not ready or anything like that, but you can't
Warren,
put time on injuries. But Warren,
you called this out. It's like they use that spot for Warren, which is odd, because it's not like usually you'd call up a reliever in the interim and then use Warren the next time Hill's spot comes up in the rotation.
But he was available out of the bullpen.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
But is Warren also going to be the starter fill-in for Hill?
Probably.
Yeah. So,
but
it was odd timing.
If Clark Schmidt comes back as a starting pitcher, and that's, at this point, that's what I think everybody's expecting to happen. I would love them to keep Will Warren up and just put him in the bullpen and just use him as a bullpen arm for the rest of the season. I think he's I was trolling through the minor league system looking for anybody that stands out to me, that has, strikeout ability, throws the ball over the plate. Maybe they had some bad luck. The kid that they just traded to the Cubs for Leiter Jr. was like the one that came up in the stat nine.
Neely,
yeah. Who looks like he's got some metrics that might play. Who knows? But Will Warren, to me, is that guy that has the ability. He's got good stuff. I think he could be effective out of the pen, and I think they should use him in that role. He's not going to be a frontline starter. It's not like we're messing around with a Jabba or a Phil Hughes type situation here. We don't know what Will Warren's going to be, and if he can be right now very useful to this team in the bullpen, then I think they should do it. And they need dynamic arms to finish out the season and to make up what could be a playoff bullpen. I do think he's going to be in the mix there. And if they don't, they're missing something. They're missing something, because they should.
And I also don't think you can just do it for the playoffs. Like, you got to see what a new bullpen looks like for a few weeks in September. You can't just roll the dice in October with new guys.
No, you need to figure out what it can look like. And again, like, That's why I
You
keep
brought
calling
up Efros as well. Like, why is Efros still in the minor leagues?
Yeah, Efros is in August. I was looking up at his numbers. I'm like, what has he been doing? He's been up since like middle of July 15th, something like that. And in August, he's thrown 9 2/3. He's pitching to a sub-1 ERA. He's got, a couple more strikeouts than he is innings pitched. Like looks like he's been effective down there. Why is he not up? Why? What's the holdup here? What are we waiting for?
It has to be like physical, right? He has to be working his way back physically still. Because
I don't understand that. He's available every day. He's available in the bullpen as a regular bullpen guy for the entire month of August.
And he's on
August 23rd.
He's on the 40-man, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There's no reason for him not to be in the major leagues.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So again, like how many things can change? There's a ton of, I wasn't exaggerating where I think this team could be very different in a month. The roster, I think it's going to look different. I think we're going to have a lot of new names. There's a lot of people in Trenton and Scranton right now rehabbing or getting right for, and these are major league players that are going to be coming up.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of roster decisions that are going to have to be made, and some of them might be difficult.
All right. The next negative is the Yankees went 1 for 16 with runners in scoring position on Tuesday. The only runs they really scored were on home runs. After the game, this pissed me off. Boone said they had a couple of missed opportunities. Like, he's so full of shit, he can't even say we had a lot of missed opportunities. Like, that's going to be too negative. The players are going to react too strongly to me saying a lot. Yeah, just a couple. Is 1 for 16 a couple of missed opportunities, or is that a lot, Boone?
It's a lot.
That annoyed me.
It's a lot of missed opportunities. Yeah, man. I mean, like the wrecking crew of Judge Soto has been carrying this team. So, like, that's it. If they're not hitting, then
Judge Soto, and also who was not in the lineup on Tuesday?
Austin Wells.
But he was in the lineup the next 2 days, and he was in the lineup with Cole. So good. That gives me hope that in game 1 of the playoffs, it's not going to be Jose Trevino catching.
I don't know, because there was some writing on the wall for the one on Tuesday that really gave me pause, because one, it was after an off day, so it's not like you're trying to get him back-to-back days off, or I'm sorry, like a day off after him playing. It was after an off day, and I understand that it was against a lefty.
It was a lefty, yeah.
But this particular lefty had really terrible numbers, really terrible splits against lefty batters.
Did they look at that, or they just see that he throws with his left hand?
That's what I'm saying. I tweeted out. I was like, just make sure Aaron Boone sees that Austin Wells, because he came in at the end of the game and hit 2 missiles off of one of them off of a left hand,
off the center field wall.
Yeah, and one of them off of a lefty reliever. I'm like, okay, just make sure that Boone saw Austin Wells hit the shit out of a ball off of people that throw with their left hand. Okay, he can do that.
Do you know why he did that? Because he's a good hitter. Okay, and
yes,
when you have a good hitter, I don't care lefty matchup, righty matchups, what are the splits? He's a good hitter. He's a better hitter than Jose Trevino. He's their third best hitter. He's in the lineup. I don't care about the splits.
And I understand he's the catcher, so he's not gonna play every single
not
day.
Literally every day,
yeah.
but
after an off day, if he's the starting catcher, he should be playing.
He needs to be playing, first of all, in the playoffs, the starting catcher every day. There's no rest days in the playoffs. So Wells needs to be catching and starting and hitting cleanup every single day in the playoffs.
The problem, go ahead, sorry.
And in the regular season, yes, of course, Trevino is going to get time, day game after night game. If you haven't had a day off in a while, of course, you're going to see Trevino 2 times a week. But it shouldn't be more than that.
And even this series, Wells got the start in a day game after the night game. Yet what was unsettling to me is that when you have a day off and then you're going into a game, like, to me, if you have Austin Wells there, that's a clear message that he's your starter, because it was a day off yesterday. He's your starter. There's also, if you look at the splits, like there's no reason for him to sit. It's not because of the lefty, because this lefty struggles against left-handed batters. So that's not the reason. Then what is the reason? He's been off for multiple days.
Well, that's concerning. That's clearly just matchups in their mind driven, because the logical thing would be Wells, after a day off on Monday, he starts Tuesday, he starts Wednesday, and then Trevino gets the day game with Cole on the mound. That would have been logical.
Or there's another lefty that was coming up on Wednesday. So you start Austin Wells because he's the starting catcher after a day off. Then, because there is a day game on the following day, and you want to set a tone where Garrett Cole is not just going to throw to Trevino and the backup catcher, you play Trevino in that middle game and give Austin Wells the day game with your lead. To me, that is a clear indication that the starter is getting the start after the day off, and he's catching your number one pitcher. Right? Does that not send the message?
Yeah, as long as Wells is every day in the playoffs, I don't care really what happens the rest of September, but he needs to be every day in the playoffs. But there's things concerning me that it's not going to be every day in the
concern
playoffs.
is
they're
that
going to
you
do
don't
matchups
trust
in the
Aaron
playoffs.
Boone. Aaron
No,
Boone is the
why would I?
concern. I know.
And on that missile that Wells hit off the center field wall in a pinch hit spot, what'd you think of Grisham's path around the bases?
It was
just
awful. And it didn't even
Awful.
look like he was running hard. And
He wasn't, and then he started turning it on around second base, and then he stutter stepped around third base.
Yeah, it was bad base running. It was bad base running. I mean, the guy, you need to score on that run.
We're going to talk about this with Verdugo, but so let's just talk about Verdugo. First of all, worst player in baseball, 1 for 13 in the series. He's got a 239 on base percentage in August. Since May 1st, he's hitting 216, 267 on base, 328 slugging percentage. There's a 595 OPS. So he's been unplayable since May 1st. And he's still out there every day starting. What is Verdugo and Grisham giving you that at least Dominguez can't fill one of those spots? Preferably the starting spot, see what that's going to be like, and move Verdugo to a backup spot and like buy Grisham at this point. But like, you can't keep these two bums as the outfielders.
I mean, Grisham is fine as a fourth, fifth guy. Like that's what he needs to be. Like he's fine. He's a defensive guy that can go out there and do something. But yes, he needs to run.
Can't run the bases.
That was a bad display of running the bases. But yeah, you even look around and like Oswaldo Cabrera at this point, you know, he can play in different positions. Like play him in more spots. Like Verdugo needs to sit. Verdugo needs to sit. He's been awful. And yes, it's a clear lane for Jason Dominguez to come up.
Do you have a lane now?
And
can we get the question to Cashman? Hey, do you see a lane now for Dominguez?
And again, that 9-15 date that I've been like circling in my brain is only if you don't have consistent playing time for the player. Like I just don't want him to be called up and not play every day or, you know, most days. But there's a clear path for him to play every single day. Clear path. And whether that happens now or in a week, like whatever.
So Chisholm is going to be activated on Friday, which is awesome. The fact that he 15 days ago might have needed season-ending surgery and he's already back from the IL is both awesome and suspiciously fast at the same time.
As a doctor, I think I nailed that one. You could tell this guy was not really that hurt.
Peraza was optioned back to the minors after the game yesterday, which indicates Chisholm's coming back. Obviously, he's going to be a third baseman. But when you've got other guys in the minors who are going to be coming back soon, like John Birdie, who's another guy who's making a rehab assignment on Friday with Somerset, he's another infielder. Dominguez needs to get up here and start playing because you're getting nothing from left field right now. There's going to be a lot of roster decisions. Also, Anthony Rizzo is going to be starting a rehab assignment. And first base is, well,
still a problem.
It's not like Rizzo was good, but there's a clear lane for Rizzo to just start at first base because they have not found an answer at first base. DJ had a good 10 days. That's all it was, seemingly. Yeah. Ben Rice, I mean, before the last couple days, which he started, I believe he only started like 5 times in August. So like he was just riding the pine for all of August. And I'm not saying like, oh, Ben Rice is the answer, but if he's not going to play, what is he doing on the roster as a backup first baseman for you? That's not giving you anything.
No, it's not doing any justice to him either. Like the kid needs to be playing for if he's someone who you believe that could be a player, like get him playing time. And I understand that the first base is a problem right now. They need bodies, and that's why he's there. But dude, Rizzo, yes, of course I want Rizzo back. Like everybody's like, oh, Rizzo, if you look at what he was, like fine. But there's been nothing better that's been in that spot either. And if he's healthy, and Anthony Rizzo can come back and be healthy and play, like, yes, I would prefer to have Rizzo at first base every day and take my chances with him being a productive player as a healthy player. Like straight up, like he's a major league first baseman. So yes, And that's going to happen. Like we talked to when you were out, Max and I were talking about this, and he was like, he's been hitting off of rehab guys coming up. So he had been taking swings for a long time. It's been kind of, a little under the radar, but now he's starting an assignment to truly get back into game shape and to game play. And Anthony Rizzo is going to be the starting first baseman for the New York Yankees in September. That's what's going to happen.
Into the playoffs.
Into the playoffs, yes.
Do you remember if it was right arm or left arm? I can't remember.
For Rizzo?
It was his right arm. I think it was his right arm.
Okay.
That he fractured. I'm just asking. I don't remember what it was.
Top of my head, I don't remember either. But
all that Fenway, right? He fell down at Fenway. That was where it happened.
Oh yeah,
right?
it was
running to first base, and he
play.
fell down, and we're like, oh, maybe he jammed his wrist, and then they're like, oh, fracture.
Yeah. Which again, like him back at first base to me just brings a level of consistency, and just it's a good thing.
I mean, you hope though, like that on paper, yes, but he was not consistent this year.
Consistency, I mean, with like a guy being over there, like you're gonna see him at first base every day, have the ability to flex other guys. It just gives the roster more flexibility. And no, he did not show consistency at the plate
or in the field.
He was a little off at the field, but I don't know. What are our options right now at first base?
No, there's no good options.
Anthony Rizzo is the answer to the question. Assuming, and
I just think to close the loop on Verdugo, sit him starting today and get Dominguez in there. I've seen enough. There's not a small sample size with Alex Verdugo.
The problem with Verdugo just sitting is there is going to be a roster issue. And you're right. Do you want Verdugo as your fourth or fifth outfielder or Grisham as your fourth or fifth outfielder? Because Verdugo, what does he give you as far as flexibility anywhere else on the field, running, nothing at the plate?
Then release him.
There's not. That's where it's going. Because otherwise, he's just going to be a roster problem.
Unless he hits 300 from today through the season, you're not having him on your playoff roster.
No,
he's not under contract next year, so you release him at this point.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very, a very real possibility. The stars line up for them because he's not on the roster. And because he's been struggling so much, and if it's between him and DJ for a roster spot, DJ's under contract, and they're gonna hope and pray that DJ can come back next year with a full off season. And
whatever about that, but at least DJ in the playoffs can play 3 different defensive infield positions.
Yeah, but my point is for releasing though, they're gonna take their chances with that over releasing.
Let's be real. It's because of the money that they owe him.
Yes, but that's part of it.
DJ might get released next year if he sucks next year. At this point, this time next year, if he's still bad, then you could release him because then that's 2 years they're eating. The 2 years is the number. That's how much they are willing to eat. They did it with Ellsbury. They did it with Hicks. That's how many years they eat. They don't eat more than 2 years.
Okay.
Rockies are coming to town. They blow. Last time the Yankees faced a sucky team, they struggled. So be careful against the Rockies. Let's get to mailbag questions. First one from Kevin Sweeney. Hey guys, how many home runs do you think Juan Soto will hit in his career? More than Judge? ? I did a little math on this. I mathed. Okay.
What'd you average out? Because I did a little math myself.
So he's at 196 home runs right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to hit 200 home runs at some point soon. Let's say he finishes the year at roughly 205 home runs. Power, as we've seen with Soto already, his power's up this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's averaged 35 home runs in his career up until this point. He's going to surpass 40 home runs this year. He's entering. There's a difference between Soto and Judge. Judge was called up when he's 25. Juan Soto's a Hall of Famer and he's 25. Okay. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to hit more home runs over the next 5 years of his career than he already has in his average season. So conservatively, if he hits 40 home runs a year through his age 30 season, and then that comes down to 35 home runs through his age 33 season, 25 home runs through his age 36 season, and then he goes out last 4 years averaging 20 home runs, 665 home runs.
How many does he have right now?
196.
Plus 196 equals, how many did you say?
665.
Okay. I have, I averaged 35 home runs over 12 years. That's what I did.
And
I
what
got
does that equal?
616. So it's right around there. So yeah, if he stays a Yankee, I think he's going to hit more home runs, depending on where he plays.
Well, he's going to hit more home runs than Judge because of the amount of time that Judge is going to have 500 home runs. Okay, roughly because of the age. Soto, because of the age, is going to have 600 home runs.
Yes, and has the ability to hit more, depending on how his
maybe he hits 50 a couple seasons in his prime.
Very absolutely could. And again, if he stays a Yankee and is hitting around Aaron Judge, like they're going to help each other out. Those numbers are going to be boosted because he's getting protection from Aaron Judge, the best player on the absolute planet right now. So yeah, he's going to, as crazy as that sounds, Juan Soto is getting protection from Judge. It's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My guess is somewhere in the mid 600s.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because I think he's going to play until his late 30s.
It also wouldn't surprise me if he had later in his career, he stayed up, because I think Juan Soto's the type of guy that when he decides to start hitting for power, if he wanted to, he could probably hit, 40 to 50 every single year. And he could be Nelson Cruz late in his career and just hit bombs.
Yeah, but he's just such a good complete hitter that he hits 40 he's averaged 35 home runs, like not being a home run hitter.
Right. Exactly. So, he starts getting into that stroke a little bit more.
Yankee Stadium has helped him. But here's the thing.
He's not even in his physical prime. Prime.
It's crazy.
He's going to get stronger.
It's crazy. He hit a Yankee Stadium short porch home run the other day.
Yes, he did.
Yankee Stadium has absolutely helped him hit a few home runs.
Uh-huh.
I know he hits bombs to left center field, but Yankee Stadium's helped him.
Yes, it has. And again, if he is here for the rest of his career, a long-term contract, like that number's definitely going to go up. Not just from the protection with Judge, but because he plays at a stadium that helps him as a left-handed batter.
And so while you might never see a peak season from Soto like we're seeing from Judge right now, the sheer longevity that he's going to have seemingly in his career, where he was amazing from day one, he's going to have like 15 straight years of being a top 5 hitter in Major League Baseball, which is unbelievable.
If he and Aaron Judge are hanging out for a long period of time too, I mean, don't be surprised if that power number doesn't get boosted up even more. And
I mean, 700 then 700 wouldn't be out of the question.
I think 700 is definitely in play for him.
Yeah, he would have to probably average closer to 50 home runs during his prime, and then his mid 30s, instead of hitting 25, he'd have to hit in the mid 30s. It's 700 home runs, a lot of home runs.
It's a lot of home runs. You got to have a long career and sustained success with power.
Yeah.
What's he going to hit this year? What do you think he's going to hit this year?
He's at like 45.
Yeah, I was going to say 45, 46. He's going to hit it right around that.
And so if you use that number, because I had him averaging 40. I was conservative in my estimates.
Yeah.
So if he, instead of averaging 40 in his prime, he averages 45 in his prime, that's another 25 home runs.
Yeah, he's going to be close to 700.
James Greenspan says, I'm normally a positive fan, but looking at this team, all I can see are warts across the board. The closer sucks. The rest of the bullpen is unreliable. The hitters, other than Soto and Judge, are mediocre or awful. The starters, other than Cole, who looks like he's finally rounding into form, are totally untrustworthy. How do we have one of the best records in baseball? This team seems ticketed for an early round playoff flameout, and I'm kind of pissed we didn't do more at the deadline. Talk me into feeling better.
Well, hopefully we did by just mentioning the two names, because they're the two best players on the planet right now, and they're on the New York Yankees. And at any given moment, they can absolutely affect a game with one swing of the bat. And they will be affecting.
Yes.
So,
here's the concern so unfortunately, it seems like the Yankees games go one of two ways. Path A, which is the good path. The starting pitcher is good. Pitches into the 6th inning. Judge and Soto hit home runs, and the Yankees score 5 runs because of the home runs, and they cruise to a victory. Path B is it's a hard-fought game. Maybe the starter isn't so great. The Yankees have a lot of opportunities with runners on base that they can't execute on, and the bullpen has to pitch in a close game and sucks. That's option B. Which one's more likely in the playoffs?
Well, it depends who's pitching, I guess. Garrett Cole, you got option A. You got, is Carlos Rodon very good? Because you got option A, potentially. Is Luis Gil healthy? Because you got option A. It really comes down to those three, I think, at the top to dictate what the path that you just said, but most likely because they don't want to use that bullpen as much as they need to, but they're going to need to.
They're going to have to. You have to execute with runners in scoring position in the playoffs, and you have to get one or two guys that can get lockdown outs in the playoffs. If not, and it doesn't have to be a closer. It doesn't have to be a setup man. It has to be somebody out of the bullpen. Could be a starting pitcher. Someone needs to get big outs in the 8th and 9th inning. I don't care who it is, but unless you get hits with runners on base and someone to get outs late in the game, you're not going to win playoff series.
Doesn't it just make you, I feel like I can see, I feel like I'm looking into the future in my crystal ball, and I see the fire extinguisher coming out in the playoffs every single series in big games, and just like getting fired up and getting the Yankees out of all of these jams. I feel like
fire extinguisher?
The script is written for Nestor Cortez.
Nestor is the fire extinguisher.
Nasty Nestor coming out and just putting out fires. I could see
You know who would have been a great fire extinguisher they could have acquired at the deadline is David Robertson.
Yeah. Would he be 47 at the start of the playoffs?
Who cares?
But Nestor Cortez,
do you trust him to get outs?
Yeah, I do. For some reason too, I feel like I trust Nestor Cortez.
I think he's only 39 years old.
Nestor just has that makeup. I don't know. He's got something in him that I feel like in a big situation like that, he's a guy
a little too much contact.
I would trust. I don't know. He's got the deception too. Again, I truly believe that what we see day one of the playoffs is going to look very different than what we see today in the bullpen.
Hopefully it's sooner than day one of the playoffs so we can get a sense of how it's going to be. Peter Masai says, hey guys, what do we think about these aggressive sends to home of late? Is it happening as a response to how many runners have been left on base? It's paid off a few times now, but this seems like another thing that will burn us in the playoffs. Maybe it's the best choice we've got. Thanks, and looking forward to hearing back if you feel like this is an interesting topic. Would you call the Grisham send home an aggressive send, or was it only aggressive because of the crappy base running?
I think it looked worse because of the crappy base running. Obviously, I think that if he's hauling ass and running, that's part of the
in there easy.
He's in there easy, and I think that's part of the third base coach to identify like what's happening. But you're really putting that guy in a difficult position if you're not running hard, and you have to lean on him to understand and perceive that you're not running hard. Like that should be a given that you're always running at full speed. And as a Major League Baseball player, taking good paths around the base path, and being, setting yourself up in a position. So I like aggressive sends. Like I go back to when Willie Randolph just had a revolving, fan with his arm. It was just constantly going. I love that. I think it puts pressure on the defense. I don't think it happens as much in today's game. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. And yes, it also doesn't help matters that the Yankees are leaving so many damn runners on base, and not coming up in big situations that you sending them is probably your best case scenario for scoring in that particular situation.
Yeah, I think if Judge and Soto are up soon, you hold the guy. If those guys are not up soon, you send the guy, because you're not going to trust Volpe, Glaber, Verdugo, whoever else is in the lineup at the bottom. You're not going to trust them to get the hits with the runners in scoring position. You're obviously going to trust Soto and Judge, and maybe Wells if he's starting that day. But otherwise, you're going to send him to put the pressure on the defense to make a throw.
Yeah. And
you're not going to send Stanton, even though they have, because Stanton can't run.
And frankly, the other thing that I don't think it's considered as much is that I believe it's harder to throw someone out at home plate today than it ever has been, just because of the rules where the catcher has to be. And the play that what's his name? I can't think of his name. The catcher for the Guardians is the brother of the other one who scares the shit out of me. Naylor made a great play, diving across the bag and making a great tag. Like he made a great play on that because the ball actually was not thrown very accurately, and he had to come completely across his body.
It was a good tag.
And make a tag. Yeah. So I think it's harder today's game for that combination of a throw to the outfield, to the cutoff, to home plate, and the catcher being in the right position. Everything has to be right for you to, if it's going to be bang, bang, like I think you you lean to send the guy. Unless, of course, what you just said, if you have Juan Soto and Aaron Judge coming up, that's the difference.
The instincts on the base paths have not been good for the Yankees though, because like that is a bad base. That's bad base running.
Unless your name is Oswaldo Cabrera.
Sure, yeah, but like it's hard when you want to be aggressive because you know the team has struggled in certain situations, but then guys are not running the bases efficiently.
But see that this is exactly what comes down to, and this is the type of shit that pisses me off a little bit, is that this is messaging. This is all in messaging, right? This is Aaron Boone and the coaching staff saying, guys, we're going to be aggressive on the base paths. Every single and this needs to be talked about consistently.
Practice, though. I'm sure it's practiced. Like
you don't even need to
I'm sure
practice
you
it
need
much.
to practice it. I'm sure they don't practice it.
Okay, fine.
You
You
think
can practice it a little
they're
bit.
practicing base running?
No, but you shouldn't have to practice base running at this point in your career as a major leaguer. But what you are saying is,
why do they still take infield practice though?
Do you think Alex Cora is not telling his guys that we're going to be aggressive, and they know in their brain that they have to be aggressive, and that most likely you should be running as if your ass is on fire because the guy at third base is going to send you? You should be of the mindset that you will be sent every single time,
whether it's running out of the box.
And this needs to be
running...
reminded. This is the job of the coaching staff, the job of the manager, to continuously be in the brains and in the minds, to keep things top of mind, to make sure these guys have a lot of things to think about by just like messaging and drilling that shit in. It absolutely can affect it the way, one step, two steps. It affects everything and how you approach a particular situation. And if you're not reminded of it, if it's not being something that's constantly, being talked about, and like, hey guys, maybe we missed a couple opportunities, runners in scoring position. No. You know what, guys? We have been terrible with runners in scoring position. We have not been getting the big hit. So we are going to press the base paths. If you're on base, get ready to run. Like, to me, that is a mindset shift now. It's also putting the pressure on, saying like, we haven't been good at the plate. That's accountability. Because we've been sucking at the plate, we need to be better on the base path. That's accountability. It's all in the messaging and I don't know if those messages are being delivered in that way. And that,
no,
and
I
that
definitely don't
me.
think they are.
That bothers me.
Yeah,
It's like high school coaching shit.
I definitely don't think they're being delivered in that way. And in the playoffs, you're going to push the envelope even a little bit more because the opportunities are fewer and farther between. So you're not going to get 16 at bats with runners in scoring position in most playoff games. You're going to get 6. So you've got to, if you get a hit, you've got to take advantage of that. And wasn't the one hit that the Yankees had an infield hit, so they didn't score?
Yes, I believe it was.
So they really went 0 for 16.
Yeah. So Jazz Chisholm can help that out. Nice little, glad to hear that he's.
One thing we didn't talk about is Gleyber Torres in the leadoff spot, because we did pull some numbers on him. So Gleyber in August, he's been hitting the leadoff a bunch in August. In August, though, overall, 17 games, a 277 average, 368 on base, only a 292 slugging, which is bad, but a 368 on base is good. So you've liked, for the large part, what you've seen from Gleyber. He's walked 10 times in August. I know they're still searching for the leadoff hitter. It's kind of Gleyber by default at this point, which I don't love because I don't like Gleyber as a hitter in general. But I mean, certainly better than Verdugo, and those are the only 2 guys they tried.
He's been pretty good there. Like eye test, if we're going to call people out for sucking as badly as they have, ever since the month of August, I don't remember exactly when that incident happened with him not running, but I mean, he's been better. He's had better at bats. Yeah, he looks like a more comfortable hitter in there. And I know the slugging's not there, but I don't really give a shit. If you're in the leadoff spot and that slugging's not there, I just want your on base percentage to be high. I don't care what you're doing, how you're getting on base. It doesn't matter to me if you're hitting a double. I really don't give a shit. I just want you to get on base. That's it. I want you to give something to think about to the next pitcher where there's a runner on base when you're facing Juan Soto, and then understanding that Aaron Judge is behind him, and in a perfect world, you have Wells behind him, that there's a lot of damage coming up with a guy on. Now you got to pitch to them. You can't dick around. Like, you got to pitch to them. And if you're trying to be too perfect, they're going to take the walk. They're going to pass the baton to the next guy, and that next guy will do damage. And that changes the game. Again, like, he's adding protection for those guys in the leadoff spot because he's getting on base. So I think he's been much better as of late. And, I think we need to recognize that he's been the best leadoff batter that we've seen in a while on this team so far. I know that's not saying a ton, but it's true.
Because it's also not that great, but whatever. Yeah, he's there.
Say it. Say it.
He's there by default. That's not a good thing.
Say that he's doing well in the month of August, because he is. He's doing his job.
Yeah.
Got it. It pains you. You can't.
No, because I know it's not going to last. 368 on base percentage. If he could carry that into the playoffs, then yes, of course, I'm signing up for that in October.
Yeah.
That's not going to continue.
Well, we'll see. Let's see what happens. For this month, though, which is decently large sample size for a season, he's been in a good place.
Imagine how dumb you have to be as a pitcher to walk Gleyber Torres in front of Soto and Judge.
Yeah, or just not being able to execute. That's the thing. Like, guys can't execute, so take advantage of it. And the other thing that you mentioned about the negative side of that, because the guy that should be the leadoff guy is Anthony Volpe, but he can't lay off pitches.
48% swing rate.
That's crazy. Yeah,
30% is league average. He's swinging at half of the pitches he sees. His approach. So I've always said Anthony Volpe doesn't have an approach. No, his approach. I'm going to swing at every pitch.
And to me, this is very fixable. It is. It's a maturation process. He's got to be. I said this before. He's got to have a better approach. He's got to be more disciplined at the plate. If he's disciplined at the plate, you're going to see significantly more improved numbers. He would be a very good hitter if he had some plate discipline. He needs to develop that plate discipline. Again, he's still a young guy.
48% is jarringly high.
It is high.
All right, that's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you to the mailbag submitters. If you want to submit your questions for next Friday's episode or next Thursday's episode, info@bronxpinstripes.com is the way to do that. And we will talk to you after the Colorado series.